Hello, Debbie Dixon. How are you? There you are. I can see you. Can't hear you yet, but
you hear me?
Yep. All right. Gotcha. Got your audio.
Right.
Nice.
Hi.
Hello. How have you been?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing very well. Yes. Excited to be here. Had a great call with my partner, who's also a coach, and we just had our interview. So just a great call, and I'm ready for this one. Are you ready?
Awesome. Yeah, I think so. I don't know. We'll see. I hope so.
Yeah, I suppose that's the way to go into it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yes. It's not really something you can prepare for. So just showing and doing my thing, and yeah.
Okay,
really.
Cool. Well, is there anything you want to clear or say up front? Anything in your space to be here or be present?
No, but I like that question. That's brilliant. No, I don't think so. How are things going with your guys' business and stuff?
Yeah, really good. A lot of momentum, and it's really just like, okay, it's all coming to like, let's put it in action now, right? So
Good.
we've got everybody's aligned, and now we're making sprints to kind of work it all into action and run some trial runs before we actually get to people actually leading, and then it's just like the pavement's hitting the rubber's meeting the road now, and now
I love it.
it's a little higher stakes, right? It's like, okay, went from idea to like, now it's real.
Yeah, exactly. Well, congratulations. I know it feels so good to birth that baby and, bringing it into fruition. And it's interesting because it's a full moon today. So this is when those ideas come into fruition, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will say it hasn't birthed yet. We're in labor.
Okay. I love that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's even better though. See, because we're done cooking.
Yes.
Right? You're in the process of.
What a great way to intro. What is transformation?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Really, it pretty much is that. It's a rebirth. Yeah. So birth is a really good analogy. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, I got that on camera, so I may be able to splice that in. But first off, I just want to say thank you for being here. You could be anywhere else and you're here. So thank you. And be here with me in this conversation, but obviously for the content and what people will get, I just appreciate you and what you're giving and your graciousness. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Right on. All right. So the purpose of this call, this interview, is really to deep dive into who you are, around what you believe, and what have you transformed. And we're just going to do a deep dive around transformation as a concept, but also where it lands for you in reality, and then where you see it with clients, and really what's it going to take for us to transform into a world where it works for everybody, right? I think that's really what it's all about. So with that, I want to start with your story. And if you can, in a nutshell, or 5-10 minutes or less, like, what is the story? And give us you. So welcome, Debbie Dixon.
Yes. Hi there. Gosh, my story is one of transformation, as is hopefully everybody's. We're very similar creatures to I was just teaching a class the other night and talking about the lotus flower, and why it's revered in so many religions, because the lotus is born in the mud. And that's truly how I feel. I was born, right? There's this, we're born kind of in this dark place, or at least I was. And the lotus flower is born in, not just born in.
Debbie, might have lost you. I still have you. Debbie, you still there? Could be my internet connection, but Debbie. Oh, internet. You're
Are you
back.
back? Oh my gosh, that was so random. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
Okay.
could be my internet connection. I
We
don't
went
know.
to the dark.
You
Well, I
last
checked
thing,
my-
the last words I heard were, "Yep, it starts in the dark." And
and then out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So sorry about that. My phone is going. So yeah, so anyways, the lotus flower is born in the mud, and then it just intrinsically finds its way through these murky waters towards the light, you know. And this is truly the way that, you know, I think that most of us are. We're sort of born into this place where oftentimes it's a little bit of a struggle. You know, it's like you have blinders on. You only see the world through your parents' eyes, through what you're shown, your environment, your teachers, just whatever is around you. And that becomes the way we perceive the world, and our expectations of the world are framed from that as well. And your expectations become the screen or the filter that we now perceive everything. So and for me, again, when I was younger, there was a lot of dysfunction, as for many people. So I had you know, experienced a lot of different forms of, you know, abuse. Again, when I was younger, I didn't view it that way. I just thought this is life. And a lot of us are still living that way. Like, this is just life, right? I was blessed to have had a moment of transformation where I was able to look back and see those things as holding me back or creating belief systems that blocked me from being able to move into a more a better sense of life, of joy, of bliss, of happiness, you know. So when I was, you know, the lotus flower, the portion that was in the dirt, it was very much a life of me against the world. You know, it's like I woke up and what I believed was the world is a bad place. You know, people are mean and they will hurt you, and you know, you need to protect yourself first. And this was extra hard for me because at 17 I had a baby. So you know, again, that search for love and not knowing what that was brought me to that position. So now it was not just me against the world, but I had to protect this little innocent being. Thank God every day for that, because I don't know that I would have shown up the same way if it was just for me, because I didn't really love myself, you know. But I loved this child and would have done anything. So that was the beginning, I think, of my transformation, was the awakening to my heart, to understanding what love was. I'd never been shown that until I had this child to love. And I believe a lot of our transformation actually comes there, you know, from the heart. The mind is a survival mechanism. We have two brains, right? The heart brain and the brain up here. And it's interesting because now science is beginning to actually verify this. And I don't know if you guys ever, you know, have talked about heart math or some of these foundations that work with. No, okay. Well, heart math is a fantastically brilliant company that talks about the importance of coherence with the heart, but also that the heart is. It truly is the brain. It's actually made up of neurites, or cells that are just like the brain cells, and they're cohesive. There's like 40,000 of them that are all adhered together, just like a tiny brain, or actually a pretty good-sized brain. And it thinks on its own. It's independent of this brain. It works on its own. The difference is it is not hindered like this brain. So this brain is hindered with the job of survival, with the five senses, with protect the self. It carries the stories and, you know, the things that keep us stuck. This is intuitive. It's connecting with what's around you without the limitations. So the more that we can, and again, the goal is not to completely disconnect from this brain, but to unite them. So we're working with both together. That's when transformation happens. And for me, I had to first find out what love, like step into my heart. out of here, get out of survival. And a lot of people that are stuck in abusive relationships, you know, maybe they're abusing substances, you know, they're stuck in lack, scarcity, those sort of things where, you know, they're worried about food. They're worried about, you know, oftentimes those people are very disconnected from love. They've never even experienced it, really. They wake up in a me against the world mentality. It is fight or flight, survival mode. So you've got to be using this brain. You can't step into this brain. So back to the lotus flower. What was interesting is I didn't know that I was going towards a transformation. I wasn't searching for the light, because you can't know that there's light in the dark. You just can't know. You're sort of stumbling around. And then, but there's, again, I believe it within all of us is this inherent desire for us to grow towards joy. We're drawn towards it. And if we just drop into the heart, even just for moments at a time, follow that guidance, we're going to end up at the light, just like the lotus flower. And what's amazing is this flower moves through the mud, and it's not until it hits the surface of the water and hits the light that it blooms. And when it does, the reason, again, the monks revere it and a lot of religions revere it is because it's spectacular. Like, it looks not like something born of the mud. If you've ever witnessed a lotus flower, smelled a lotus flower, it's, you know, it's transcendent. It's incredible. So, yeah. So for me, again, my first child was that little step, and just stepping into the heart. And he sort of forced me to make different decisions that were based on love, you know, a little bit less on survival. And then I stepped into finding things like yoga, meditation, these activities of moments of getting out of here where I'm not in survival, I'm connecting with here. And if they're just brief moments, they are enough to realign you and reset you. And so that's what happened. And I started to go through these stages of transformation within myself. And looking back, again, I saw it for what it was. When it was happening, you have no idea you're being transformed. It's just part of who, you know, your path. Now, the reason I know a transformation happened in me is because I can stand in the exact same place I used to stand, and I used to see darkness. I used to want to lock my doors, and you know, I lived in fear constantly. My mind was looking out and seeing something awful, and now totally the opposite. I see a whole new world in the exact same place. And it's so different. I mean, right when the transformation first happened, I didn't know this until I started to go back and be with some of my old friends, right? You go and realign with people that you used to, and you would sit there and be like, what? No, that's not right. No, how are you not seeing this? And you'd want to pull them over, come over here and look through my eyes. And then I'd realize I used to sit there in their eyes. I used to see it that way. And, you know, so then I was like, what happened? What was different? How did I shift? And how can I get them to come over here with me? That's when I wrote my book, The Path to Freedom, started teaching courses and started assisting people on the path.
Sweet. Yes.
Was that 5 minutes, 10 minutes? I don't know.
Yeah, well, whatever it was, that was like, good encapsulation. And loved all those parts of it. And what I really got especially was like, love is the answer.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah.
That's a tenet I wholeheartedly can resonate with. So I love that. Now, let's do a little deep dive in more around transformation. I love the metaphor you brought around the lotus flower. And maybe you can start with telling us, what is transformation not?
What is transformation not? I would say it's that if you're not transforming, it's it feels like, oh my gosh, why can't I think of the word?
Contraction or?
Contraction, yeah, not expansion. I just wanted to say expansion. I live in these positive words. So yeah, it's contraction, because everything around you, again, is compelling you towards forward movement. If you're not expanding and moving forward, you're contracting. So everybody is on the path of transformation. There's somewhere along the way, everybody without, failed, every single person. So if you're not moving with what you're being called to, the light or whatever we want to call it, then you're contracting, or they'll feel like contraction, definitely.
How do you know it's light? Like you said, you can't see the light, but you talked about what you're called to. And what do you say is to finding that, or listening to that voice, or how would you say it?
Yeah, so it's not the mind. So it's the place that so there is light. Oftentimes I'll guide people by saying what feels light and what feels heavy, because again, where we're going towards that transformation, the closer you get to the light, it feels lighter, it feels freer. So which feels freer, which feels lighter? That way you're not being driven, your choices are not being driven by the mind, which is fear, which is limitations, which is again going to keep you right where you're at, because that's all the mind knows. If we want to expand outside of what we've already experienced, which that's what we want, definitely, to do again on the outside is something we don't know. So we can't really ask for it. We can't know how to get there because we've never been there. So again, it's sit back and trust. It's what feels good, and you'll be compelled to be drawn. And it's different from, so feeling good, it's not the same as whether or not it's hard. I say every action, the law of the universe is every action has an equal and opposite reaction, So if we are making progress, if we are moving forward, we are definitely going to feel pushback. Anytime that you're building or birthing a baby, it's not easy, right? You got to carry that baby. It gets harder right before it's born, actually, right? Because the more that you start to push, the bigger it gets, the more you get pushback. But then eventually, as you mentioned at the beginning, you build that momentum. Suddenly the momentum comes up. It's like the wind behind you. And that's when you finally step into that other layer. Now you've expanded. You've literally transformed, even if it's just a little bit, because from that place, you'll look back at where you used to be and you'll be like, I can't believe I was, yeah. Hope this is happening on some level every day. We look back at yesterday and
that's actually perfect segue. So in what times, how does it show up, maybe even for you in your personal life, transformation? What does it look like even now? Let's actually just go there for today or this week, or what you're working on and transforming. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, for me, for the longest time, it sort of felt like easy, like this easy, effortless kind of flow. I've sort of in that place where I was just gliding and moving. And oftentimes we'll be there. We'll be in those places. It's sort of like the ebb and the flow. It's like you move through the turbulence and then you level out and then you move through the turbulence. For a long time, I was here. And then, recently, I hit some bumps again, and I could tell, okay, I'm being called towards something. Again, it's how do you face the opposition when it comes up? Are you resisting it? Are you angry? Do you contract? Do you, or do you say, okay, yes, I'm growing. This is a sign. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, right? I'm about to emerge on the other side. I can't wait for this to be over. And can I move through it with grace? Can I stay connected to my heart as I'm moving through this? Or am I going to jump up here and get all fearful and get worried? And why is this happening? And that will keep you stuck, So I tend to love and with my clients, it's funny, they'll call me up and they'll be like, Debbie, I need to talk right now. I just got called in by my boss, and I'm being let go. And I'll be like, that's amazing. That's such great news. Okay, so let's sit down and talk about what you want, right? Because I will remind them that 2 weeks prior, we were sitting down and talking about how that job was not working for them, how they were going to work every day. Right. And now, because they didn't take the step, the universe came in and said, you're ready.
Hmm.
And I said, the reason that job's leaving is because the other job is ready for you now, and you just got to get clear about what it is.
Hmm.
So that's what transformation can look like. In the yogic terms, it's called a Shiva. Shiva is he's the deity that represents transformation, and he really represents destruction, because destruction and creation happen simultaneously. So we can't have creation without destruction. Something has to leave, because nothing is ever, energy is not changing, or it's just changing. It's not, leaving. Sorry, you're leaving me a little bit there. I got you back.
Yeah, great. Actually, you just so much good stuff in there. So much good stuff. So everybody's going through this at all times, right?
Yes, always.
I mean, this is this natural evolution. I mean, is this not like the purpose of life? Like, you are here to find the lotus, find the top of the water,
yeah, move through the mud. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. This is it.
So, and then we know, even times in our own lives, and then we look at people who are stuck. What do you say is the reason it doesn't happen naturally? I mean, go to the mind, but maybe more specifically, give us what that looks like in life.
The way I explain this to people a lot of times is, when I was a kid, I was swimming. My grandpa was watching me. I'd go on the summers and spend time with my grandparents and at the pool. And so that was the only time really that I would swim. So, it was like super fun for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm practicing somersaults in the pool. I just figured out how to do this. So I'm doing a somersault. And again, my grandpa's watching me. I do one. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to try two. So I go for two, and then, mastered that. And so now I try three, and I'm just a kid. So I'm not really thinking about, the repercussions of not having air. I'm going to do three. So I go for it, take a big breath, and I get 1, 2. On the third round, I need air. And I don't know which way is up and which way is down anymore. I start to panic. So I go here into my head. I mean, I can remember this clear as day. Like, it was panic. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And finally, this calm voice says to me, if you just relax, you'll float to the top. And that's exactly what I did. I just let go. And then suddenly I float to the top. I put my feet down on the ground and just stood up and could take a breath. This is for me. And this is the way life shows up, is if we're fighting, if we're struggling, if we're here, again, you're just going to keep treading the water. You're going to keep spinning around. It's going to get worse. The panic's going to get deeper. If you let go, so the yogis talk a lot about surrender. If you surrender, let go, just know that all is happening for your highest and best good. Trust in that. Come true to you, and just walk through life in this way. If we can all just do that, if you can get the call that your job is over and just be excited, have faith that something better's on the way, instead of panicking, instead of letting the mind come over, come here into the heart, which says everything's going good, right? Everything's perfect, And if we look back over our lives, there was a million of these tiny transformations where something caught you, where there's that forward movement.
It's well said. Very well said. What it brings up now is like the how question, right? Like, maybe how, first off, isn't everybody doing this? And I guess what I want to usher in is, why coach? Why have a coach? Like, what is that going to give a person versus like, tell me how to do it, Debbie, right? Like, I've been doing it, and now I think, I got my own stuff.
Yeah, so you mastered it. Okay, I don't need you anymore. Bye. Yeah. No, the coach, what I do for people, honestly, is I get to be the sounding board of their fears. So I get to rationalize it for them. Oftentimes we just hold the fears inside of us, and then they build and they build and they build, and we never get them out. And then that's our focus. It takes us over. It buries us. When we can just voice the fears, we can hear them. And then somebody that's reflecting them back to you is somebody like me, who's really rooted in I know it's happening for your own good. I have no doubt. I'm not going to jump on the fear wagon with you. The faith is so strong with me that it's happening for your highest good, that you see that through my eyes as you're saying it. And now it sounds ridiculous to you too. And suddenly you leave feeling cleared of whatever fear was there with that viewpoint of where you're headed. And that is oftentimes just enough to free the binds that are holding you in place. You know, it's almost like I'm there and that's my only job, is to cut those ties for you. But there has to be a willingness for you to be willing to let them go.
Yeah.
So our conversation in a coaching session is oftentimes how willing are you to let go of the story that's holding you in place, to let go of the fears. Are you willing to do that? And are you willing to trust that everything is working for your good? And if they can't see that, I tend to help them find that. You know, it's pretty easy for us to then look back and say, look at how everything's working out so perfectly. Look at how you've really created up until this point your ideal life, and you can continue creating, and you are, you know, whether or not you realize it, your thoughts, words, and actions are creating. So I always view it like a stick, like you're holding a stick, and one side's the positive, the good, like everything's working, abundance, love, joy, all that stuff. And one side is everything's falling apart. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do, right? And I always just say, what side of the stick are you on right now? You know? And if you're over here, can you ever solve a problem that in a positive way from over here, from the negative? It's impossible to be stuck in fear, to be stuck in, and to find a positive solution. You have to elevate your consciousness to a place of peace, joy, connection, and then the solution arrives. That's when transformation can happen.
And there's the value of the coach, right? To maybe even insert or give you that perspective that you're not having. Yeah.
Right. Love it. Yeah. I'll have people call me up and they'll be like, oh my gosh, so, you know, I have this one client that's bugging the crap out of me, and they're and then I just got in a fight with my son, and everything's falling apart. And I'll say, wait. So what you're telling me is you have so many people that want your business, right? That you're feeling overwhelmed because your business is so successful. And you have a son that loves you so much that you guys were in this argument about, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then you have, you know, and you're sitting in a home right now that, you know, has this, you know, 4 walls and the roof, and it'll be just that simple. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I guess, yeah, I didn't look at it that way. And you know, okay. I feel better now. Yeah, what the hell was I thinking? Yeah.
So what's showing up for me in this conversation, Debbie, is that especially when I choose a coach, but even my beliefs have to line up with that coach's beliefs, or at least what I intuit their beliefs are. And because I know there was a time in my life where I'm like, trust. What am I going to trust? There's no trust. There's only me. There's like only what I'm thinking. So like, I guess I want to open this as an opportunity for, you know, what is it that you do believe as like, this is the way it is for me, and this is why you would be attracted to my coaching. You know, I think is naturally what will happen. But what do you believe about the entity or
whatever?
Or whatever. What do you say?
So, I mean, my belief, and that's, it's amazing that you chose that word, because that is what's important. And my belief is your beliefs are what frame your reality. So you're only limited in your life by your belief structure. So if you, you know, believe that the end of the world is done, that's going to be your truth. Whatever you believe is true for you. And I also believe that we create, that you are your own creator. You've created your life up until this point, thoughts, words, and actions. Even for me, even the suffering, right? Those things I created intuitively somehow, again, in that mud. My higher self knew that was a journey I needed so I could emerge and become who I am today. And I'm grateful for it. So a big piece is owning that you can't just own, yeah, I created, you know, my job, you know, and I'm, you know, the successful CEO because I did that. But no, I did not create the car accident that happened down the street, whatever. Yeah, you created all of it. And a big piece is, can you own all of it and see how the incredible job and the car accident, none is better than the other. It's all just a piece of the puzzle, and all of it is working together to create the outcome of transformation, that constant growth towards light. And so, not allowing yourself to get stuck in good or bad, or just viewing everything as a piece of who you're becoming, and on the path. And you're grateful for all of it. You're grateful for the hard stuff. You're grateful for the easy stuff. Finding those ways. So a lot of what I do when I work with a client is learn about their beliefs. I listen to them carefully. I listen to them say, I am, and then what they say after it. I'm tired. I'm just exhausted. I'm just, so blah, blah. Whatever it is that they say, I'm writing that down. Because it's imperative that they understand that this is what they believe and what they're creating right there. That is what they're going to get more of. And if they want to switch, the way they're experiencing life, there's a good start. And then I listen to their beliefs, or I'll ask them what their beliefs are. They'll say, I'm trying to eat all the best things, and yet I still put on weight, and I'll say, are your thoughts, words, and actions aligned? When you're sitting down and eating whatever you're eating, are you eating things and thinking, this is bad for me, this is going to make me fat, or are you aligned with, okay, I'm eating this, I'm choosing to do this, so this is okay for me, and this is going to nourish me. But is there a constant battle between what you're thinking about, what you're saying, and what you're doing? Are you doing something but thinking negative thoughts about it? So the first step with a relationship with a coaching client for me is getting to know who they are. My first session is always the longest session, because that's what we do. It's and who they are, again, is just a series of what their beliefs are about themselves. And so oftentimes I'll stand them in front of a mirror and say, hey, you're meeting you for the first time. What do you think of this person? What do they look like to you? Do they look like they're, powerful business person? Do they, how do they stand out? Tell me about this person. And then as I'm listening to them, I just either point out beliefs or just start to take notes on beliefs. And then if we're looking for a change in that area, that's where we're going to work on those, changing the beliefs first. Again, that was a lot.
Love that. What do you think, actually, as an inquiry for you, because it's clear all the work that you've done as a coach. Actually, I'm first going to ask this. What has transformed you to be a coach? Like, what was that realization, or why coach, right? There's many trajectories, but coach is a specific one.
Yeah, I didn't choose, or it wasn't on purpose. As I mentioned, I looked back and there were so many people. I came from a rough place, and a lot of my friends from those places stayed there. And so it's really interesting to transcend from such a level and then to see people still living that past life that you don't even relate to anymore. You can't even imagine you were there. And so for me, it became my goal to sort of, once I got this knowledge and the path that I took, and I started to pay attention to some of the steps I took and the things that were necessary for that transformation, I wanted to go back and help them. So I started there just figuring out, and again, you can't help somebody doesn't want it. It's a waste of your energy. And I learned that right away. Don't try and tell people what they're doing wrong. Wait, if they ask, they ask. What started happening, people just started asking me. I opened up a yoga studio. I was teaching a lot of these concepts. I taught for years and years and years. Teaching, holding seminars and groups where we would sit around and just kind of talk about these things. And then people would just come to me with questions. And essentially I was doing coaching, for free all the time. And people were having huge results. So because people asked me to, I started to create CDs and videos and things like that where they could take it with them. And then there was just so many people that would leave, seminars, workshops, things like this, and want more. And it was, I guess I was still battling my worth at that time. So it was really hard for me to charge somebody. And that was what was kind of the next step was, okay, you know, I'm going to schedule you time. You're going to come in and we'll talk. And again, I had spent years, I mean, years and years and years and years, working on myself, taking seminars, you know, going to master's teachers, doing, you know, yoga, breathing, meditation, mindfulness, sitting with monks, going to ashrams, staying for weeks. You know, I've done that work. And so from all of that, you know, and watching my life and walking my path and, you know, talking to others, all of that came together at this perfect time. And people were just, you know, wanting to have sessions with me, but feeling guilty. It's like, there has to be this even exchange. If we take something from somebody, we feel like we owe them. So I started getting gifts all the time. People would bring me these lovely gifts. It was so nice. And finally I was just, okay, I'm going to set it up where people, you know, can pay me and get sessions. And the second I did that, it was just like schedule full. That's kind of how it started. And, you know, we're so happy to pay me for it. I was just like, why didn't I ever do this before? And yeah. Awesome. And now almost now, almost probably 10 years since I started coaching.
Perfect. So that's perfect setup for the next question, which was, so what are you transforming now? Which one of your beliefs are you going to work on, or, you know, what's next for you? Give us like what you see and what you're dealing with to get there.
Good question. I love that. You know, again, always battling, because I think of where I came from, and I haven't quite hit maybe the top of the water quite yet. Maybe a little bit's opened up, but I haven't gotten all the way. And I would say that's that self-worth, which many of us are battling, you know, the deserving. So I am human in that way, still haven't quite transcended. And so knowing that that I am worthy and, you know, deserving, and really connecting with that. At the same time, for me, I don't really require a lot. I don't have the strive for stuff. So because of that, and because the way our society really works is, you know, the growth, that transformation is usually compelled by desire. And desire is usually something like that, like I want a new car, and I don't really have those desires. Not anymore. That's, you know, part of the transformation, I think, is you end up there where none of that matters anymore. There's something greater. And on that search. So for me, it's really connecting with unconditional love. And this really learning unconditional love, like, and that's been something that's been an ongoing thing for years for me. I think it's a big step on the journey. You know, there's non-judgment, when you can understand that the other person is us, and that's a big piece. And so any judgment I have of that person is really a judgment of myself. So the unconditional love is actually a reflection of loving me more. And so can I love even that person that might be harming me? You know, can I love that person is harming the other person, or doing bad things, or things that I deem as bad? So that's my growth right now, is I'm always working towards this sense of just truly taking down all the barriers where I could have, where no fear. So, you know, love and fear are opposites. And I feel 99.9% of the time, I feel like, oh, that's no problem. But then if I was faced with, for example, I did the Temazcal, which is a sweat lodge. It's hot. I mean, I do hot things, hot yoga, hot. Oh my goodness, this sweat lodge in Peru, and we had just hiked the Inca Trail, so I came off this really intense high, and what my body had been through, and we were in altitudes that are insane, and so there was a lot, and we didn't eat for the whole day because of the Temazcal. And then we go in, and it's this, you know, they call it these doorways. You go through several doorways. So first doorway, I can't remember, it was like 6 or 8 rocks they bring in. We sing to the mother, and it's so beautiful. And you know, it's a little hot, not too bad. Second doorway, 6, 8 more rocks come in, you know, it's pitch black. I mean, literally pitch black. You can't even see your hand in front of your face. It's scary. It's like intense. We're sitting, whatever. Third doorway. He says, before he closes the door, don't let the fear come in. Whatever you do, don't let the fear come in, because once it comes in, it's really hard to shake. And I'm like, hey, you know, I got this. Because again, I believed in myself that I live without fear. There's none of that in me.
Yeah.
So until I was faced with that. So again, I was sort of grateful to be shown, because suddenly door closes. We've got, you know, 6, 8 more rocks in there, which is fine. But then they throw, you know, buckets of water on it. I don't know, have you ever done this before?
I've done sweat lodges, not this one. Not with doors.
Holy cow.
Like that.
Oh my gosh. And I'm directly across from this guy, the shaman or whatever, and so you can't see what's happening, but you just hear the water splash, and it splashes you. And then they start fanning, I think, because you can feel the heat just
right. Wave,
and it takes your breath away. And so it comes on so quick that it literally zapped my breath, and it just sent me into a state of fear. And he was right. There was no shaking it. He said, you can drop down to the ground if you get your face close to the dirt, and you can breathe there. And I mean, I was in a panic. So I was shown I'm not there yet. I was grateful for it. I still have work to do. Hallelujah.
Yes. Brilliant.
Yes. Can I stay calm even in the face of that?
Yeah. Well, it's just all parts of that, right? Set you up with like, hey, don't let the
way he said it. Yeah, whatever. I know. I was thinking, and so it was all perfect. It was all perfect. I was grateful for it. Again, I'm grateful anytime I get faced like that, where I'm shown the part of me where, you know, because most of the time I do feel like I view the world from that place, that plateau, truly loving, truly everybody with no judgment. No judgment. That's something that a client can come to me with, is to know that they can tell me anything, and there's literally not an ability within me to judge them. You know, my heart just doesn't. And I just see them for who they're becoming. I can see them for the lotus flower. I can see them for the light. So that's another thing. People can sit with me, and I think that they can see what I see, you know, and it helps them to feel that for a moment, that, you know, instead of seeing just what they've been experiencing, they see what I see, which is up over here. So hopefully I can, you know, spread out the tame the scales. I'm gonna do it again, and I'm gonna not have fear. I know it.
Well, once you've done it once, now you got it, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, it's just it's a great humbler, right? It's what I really heard. And thank you for sharing such a brilliant, vulnerable, also space to just like, and then I didn't have it, you know? and for me, I've had those experiences where like, oh, I got this. I don't have this. Like that. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah. That was brilliant. Okay, so I think I've covered most of what I want to cover inside of transformation. Let me ask you, anything you want to put in, or anything you feel like that it hasn't been said that you actually want to make sure is said?
No. You know, I think I feel like I said pretty much at least base points for everything. I think the biggest thing that people can do is, you know, connect with your heart. So if you leave from this conversation with anything, it is take a few minutes a day to just stop, bring your attention to your heart, and maybe even touch it, hold it. Oftentimes just that can bring some energy there, and try and step into compassion, acceptance, you know, kindness, love. Just feel those feelings. And gratitude. Gratitude's huge. And oftentimes, especially in our society today, we're so blessed. You know, especially where I live, people are incredibly blessed. We live very lavish lifestyles in comparison to maybe people in other places. And so people will come to me a lot as coaching clients and be like, my biggest struggle is I don't feel gratitude. Like, I don't even know how to get into that feeling. And I know that I'm missing something in life because I don't have it. But I've just always had everything I needed. I've never really, so gratitude doesn't. And again, that makes me so, I sit there and think, thank you for all the struggles I've had, because they've allowed me to really sit in gratitude with the littlest thing. I mean, somebody does something nice to me, just heart exploding. I'm very easily stepping into there. So for somebody that does, get there easily, how do I get them there? And usually the way that I can shift somebody into that space of the heart is through compassion. So I'll sit there, I'll maybe have them think that there are people suffering right now, cold, alone, maybe a child, somebody vulnerable, an animal that, without a home, on the streets, hasn't eaten. And I'll come into that place where we can feel compassion. And then from that, we're so very grateful for bellies being full and having a warm bed. And, so anytime that we can step into gratitude, appreciation, you're stepping into your superpower. The superpower is here. And when we can align with that, we step onto that side of the stick where all the solutions are, where joy, happiness, and peace, and again, the transcendence to the light is available.
Yeah. Just curious, because this came up for me. What do you think the difference, what do you say the difference is? Not like it's right, but your perspective. What is the difference between sympathy and compassion?
Sympathy is, I would say sympathy is ego-based is what comes to me. It's sort of coming from the place of I'm up here and you're down there, versus compassion is really 100% anchored in the heart, where sympathy might be up here more and compassion might be here more. If you just think of sympathy, you're really up here, like, gosh, that sucks for them. Compassion is, I almost want to cry. I feel it. I'm not thinking about it, but I'm feeling it. And, that's the difference, where, sympathy might, oh man, that really, that's what I think personally.
That was actually probably one of the best explanations I've ever heard, really. And of course, it came in this conversation around the head and the heart. And so, well done.
It's perfect. Well, it does kind of bring it to, well, you're the one who asked it. So,
well, in the space,
it's
all in the space of magic. So last question for you is, what is possible if everybody in the world has a coach?
Ooh, gosh, what is possible? That's like a dream come true for me. If everybody, because we all need that, which is why we're drawn towards relationships, even our significant other, really, whether or not they want to be. Are you still there? Okay.
Yeah, no,
even our significant other is showing up in that way, whether or not, it's on purpose. Just, oftentimes they're not getting the getting paid or
recognition.
Thank you for being the coach. Yeah. So here you're setting it up intentionally, saying this, I want you here as a reflection back to me to show me how I'm growing. I mean, we all sort of need that, but most people don't sit down and take the time to do it. So, I mean, even when I'm doing coaching, I'll give people assignments, say, hey, do you know that 50%, that's even giving probably more credit than I should, actually do it. So most of the time I'm like, if you don't do it, it's fine. We'll do it together. And then we do it together. So it's me holding them accountable and making sure it gets done. And there's something so powerful in just sitting down and, hey, let's talk about, what do you want? Show me this. And then we are both seeing it together. So we get to make sure it's clear enough that we can both see it, and your significant other, your mom, your dad could be that. But most of the time, those people will hold you back from transformation because those people see you for what they've known. Maybe they've been with you for 10 years. They might still hold you in the story of who you were 10 years ago, where the coach can see you for who you're becoming without that story and can help you into that space. And I mean, oftentimes when somebody's going through a big transformation, you know, this is somebody who's really in a place that's not so good, and I'm taking them to somewhere really good. The biggest part almost all the time is, and this happens on their suggested, but it's not necessary, but isolation. They separate oftentimes from their families, from the people that may see them and remind them of who they used to be.
Yeah.
That won't be able to accept who they're becoming quite yet, you know? So really minimizing those encounters because they can powerfully pull you back, you know? And so, yeah, coaches are, I mean, it is the wave of the future. If somebody's really searching for transformation, it's one of the most powerful tools that you can have, I believe, for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to put in? Anything else you want to say? If this is your platform for the world, I mean, you kind of already said it, but maybe you want to reiterate it. What do you got?
No, just, you know, my company, I have an organization called Love is the Truth, because this is what I believe. So I believe if everybody just tries to move towards love, you know, loveisthetruth.org is my nonprofit. And I say love is the truth, fear is a lie. So if you do, like I said, if you do nothing else, just try to spend time moving into love and notice the thoughts that, or the things that kind of are pulling you into fear. I'll say, if somebody's like, especially if you're moving forward in life, you're going to be met with challenges, and then fear can emerge in that space if you give it that attention. So notice the fear, love the fear, because it's a sign something big is happening, and then try and switch it around. You know, what if everything is working out for my highest and best good? What if I'm headed up, you know, and I'm about to emerge on the other side of the waters? What if, you know, what if it's going to turn out, this thing that I'm worried about is going to turn out better than I can even imagine? And this, you too, with your new baby, right? What if this is going to work out better than you're capable of even imagining?
Wise words from Debbie Dixon. Thank you so much. And we're going to get an opportunity to actually be with you on our call, right? Like, we're going to bring people in our group context so you can actually be with Debbie. And, you know, I just want to first off acknowledge you for the light that you are in this world, for the lotus flower that you're becoming. Thank you for the wisdom you shared with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much, Debbie, for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I appreciate it.
Right on. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks so much. That was awesome.
Yes, great. Yeah, thank you. You led the show. I love the questions. So, you know, it's not often that, yeah, I do this kind of stuff a lot, and rarely that I like, okay, I love that question. That was really good. So you're fantastic.
Right on. Well, thank you. Actually, I have my favorite question. I forgot to ask you, so I'm going to ask you. And my favorite question is, what is your favorite question?
Oh, don't do that. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. What is my favorite question?
Either to be asked or the one I love asking.
Okay, my favorite question, the one that I ask the most, is what do you want? That's probably the question that if somebody said, what does Debbie ask all the time? It would be that. What do you want? What do you want? And then it's funny because rarely do people say, I want enlightenment, or I want happiness, or I want joy, or I want, you know, usually it's a thing. And so then, you know, you can always sort of filter that down to, you want the thing because you think it's going to get you happy. Yeah. And happiness is just so that eventually you can rise above, which would be that enlightenment feeling, that total, you know, rise above all of this stuff that kind of keeps us feeling, you know, rise above the mud. So, yeah. What is your favorite question?
That is my favorite question. Is what is your
what is your favorite? Oh, that's a good one. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah. Another one of my favorite questions is, if you had $10 million, what would you do with it?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yes.
Right on.
Yeah.
You know what I do? Make an organization that would pump content of coaches everywhere in the world so that all they could hear was that conversation in their head. We drowned out all the other conversations.
Yes. Nice. Wow. Yeah. I like it. It might take more than 10 million, but.
Yeah, well, that's what I do.
I love it. That's great.
All right. Well, Debbie, thanks so much. So the timeline from here is, were you able to actually sign up for one of the Coach in Action calls? Did you get on the calendar for that one?
I didn't do that.
Okay. Did you get my email I sent? Because I know that it was like a pretty long email. It's pretty dense. So if you didn't see it, no worries.
I don't think I got it.
I'm going to send it to you again.
Yeah, resend it.
I have it. I'm going to make sure I got the right email address. But I believe it was, here it is.
Realizing Your Dreams at Hotmail.
Realizing Your Dreams at Hotmail. Okay. So I'll send it there again just to make sure. Obviously, you've already done the coach interview part. But what's next is, and I'm pretty sure I got to talk to you about this. What I want to do is host you. It's like you and I hosting people to come in. Essentially, I'm the host. You're my special guest, right? And this is the What is Transformation Coach in Action call. So we'll essentially go out and promote with that content piece. And then the idea is we'll bring people in and then we'll go from there. If and when you want to run your own periodic call, whatever that looks like, that's in the email. So you just kind of let me know, and essentially we'll be promoting it on our bulletin board. And this is, hey, Debbie's hosting her call every Friday or whenever you do it, right? So it's a lot. What do you hear?
This video, you guys are going to edit, and are you putting it into, is it going to be its own, or is it going to be just pieced out and put into a whole bunch of other, what are you doing with this right now?
So this is a show, or an episode on a show. And the idea is we will use that, cut it up wherever we can for the social media, so that at minimum a week before your actual call with me, we're going to go out and just promote together, and just every day we're going to post something about it, and that type of thing.
Okay, so you'll be tagging me and stuff like that?
Yep.
Exactly. So I'll be able to see. Okay, perfect. Yep.
I'll give you slide files and ways that you can share it and do your own writing about it, whatever you want.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, fantastic. Yes. Cool. All right. And I'll look for the email. You might have sent it. And sometimes I do get, so if get lost, I'm super sorry. So
it's a Hotmail account. I know you've had it a long time.
Yes. It's true. Yes.
So I'll send you again just to represent it, bring it to the top of the inbox. Obviously, look through all that. Inside there's the financial agreements, how we're playing as a group team, and like really anybody you bring to the platform, we're going to give you an affiliates fee. So, the idea is how to make it all work. So let me know your question. Okay.
Yeah. Excited to look at it. Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Cheers, Debbie. Till the next time.
Cheers. Bye.